What's good is formerly known Mercury X Uni, currently known Ahava Kills. Listen, we finna get into the Kyle Odom story, alright? This is a weird story, man, about reptilians. It's not a man, a lot happened to him. I don't really know everything that happened to him, but let's get into it. Say less.
Craziest stories I've ever heard is that of Kyle Odom, the bright young college student who one day snapped and shot 6 hollow point rounds into a pastor he believed was a reptilian. Now, what makes this story even stranger is the fact that the pastor came out of this relatively unharmed, returned to work 2 weeks later, and then was elected to a prominent government position, even though he was shot 5 times in the torso and once in the head with hollow point rounds. So let's start to unpack why Kyle thought it was necessary to pull off this heinous crime to begin with. The answer to this question lies in his manifesto, which can be found on the Internet Archive. But let's start with, who is Kyle Odom? Born and raised in North Idaho, he grew up in a loving family. He joined the Marine Corps after high school and developed an interest in science. He went to school for a degree in biochemistry. He won numerous scholarships and awards. He graduated magna cum laude, then joined the University of Idaho. So why would he do this? Why would he throw his life away when he had so much to live for? Well, according to him, his life was ruined. It was ruined by an intelligent species of amphibian humanoids from Mars.
Y'all, those things are real. You hear me? Listen.
I wish I was joking. So here are the bullet points that Odom wants people to know about these amphibian humanoids. Basically, they were here long before we ever existed. Their technology is millions of years more advanced than ours, and he's seen them do things that defy all comprehension. They have a massive breeding stock of humans, which they breed and control from birth. They use these humans to live vicarious lives among us. They appear to be completely normal because they're good at imitating human behavior. Now, the actual Martians live deep underground, here and inside of the moon. They take control of wild human beings and use them as sex slaves. Don't believe me, he says? Well, ask Obama to take a lie detector test on this one. He says they tried to take me, but they were unable to control my mind, and they've been following me ever since. I tried everything to get my life back. I begged, bargained, and I threatened. I attempted suicide twice, but they stopped me both times.
I rebuke that in the name of Yeshua.
Last resort was to take actions that would bring this to the public's attention. So everything started for Kyle when he was at the University of Idaho in the spring of 2014. It was the final semester, and he was taking a heavy course load. The stress was mounting, so Kyle searched for a way to cope, and what he discovered was meditation. He made it his daily routine, and he got really good at it. Now, this continued until he encountered another being through meditation. Essentially, he went into another realm, and this entity telepathically told him, "You shouldn't be here." Instantly, Kyle felt guilty for trespassing into this psychedelic realm. And this emotion he had a positive impact on this being.
You know why? Because when you smoke, when you do psychedelics, you're entering the spirit realm illegally. So everybody's experience is different.
Who then considered Kyle to be a good guy, and I guess they merged, and he felt unconditional love. Their minds became connected, and it was an extremely powerful and life-altering experience. Now, the rest of that semester suddenly became exceedingly easy for Kyle. He felt like he had tapped into some kind of power. He exerted no mental effort, aced all of his tests, and did amazing, even in classes that were extremely difficult before. So after he graduated college, he started to interview for graduate school, and he accepted an offer from Baylor College of Medicine to work on a PhD in human genetics. This Kyle was very excited about. However, everything changed once he started the program. The moment he arrived, he could see flaws in every professor's research. His mind was so expanded that he could instantly understand the implications of entire research projects, and he was able to see the weaknesses in them. Kyle would voice his concerns to his advisors, but they casually would brush him aside. He tried to stay motivated, but he couldn't stop seeing the flaws in the foundations of genetics. So eventually he decided to leave the program. And the day after he decided to leave, his life became a living hell. He couldn't sleep, his mind felt zapped. After a few days of this, 2 graduate students from his class began to reach out to him. And Kyle thought this was strange because they never actually really talked in class. Then when Kyle went to actually hang out with them, they started acting very strange. Unprovoked, they would point their fingers at him in the shape of a gun and go pew pew like they were shooting at him. They kept doing this, and Kyle wondered what their problem was. Later, Kyle writes in his manifesto, he discovered that they actually were not human, and they were tasked with making him the next school shooter. Anyway, Kyle continues, things slowly began to improve after he stopped talking with them, but still was mentally exhausted. However, in spring of 2015, Kyle's luck seemed to turn around and he was invited to go to an interview with a prominent food company. Unfortunately, however, the interview didn't go very well and he had to take a plane to get there. So anyway, on his plane ride back, things took a strange turn. An older gentleman sitting in front of him kept glancing back at him until he got his attention. And as he kept looking back, Kyle's head began to hurt and tingle. Right when this happened, the old gentleman's lips began to curl up into an evil-looking smile. The pain in Kyle's head continued and got more intense as time went on. Every time Kyle felt it, the man would start taking notes in a notepad. About halfway through the flight, someone else in front of him held up a newspaper that said psychic reading for 5 minutes straight. It was blatantly obvious they were doing something to him, but he didn't know what. Once they landed, the older gentleman kept showing Kyle his track phone as if to say, get one of these. Now, Kyle had applied to several government agencies before this happened, so he thought this might be their way of contacting me. Out of curiosity, he decided to go buy a track phone. He would check it every day to see if anyone messaged or called. About a month later, he received a text message from a man named John. He invited him to come to church at the altar. It seemed to be like a strange place to be recruiting for government jobs, but Kyle went anyway. However, after he got there and went inside, something felt very wrong. He felt as if his life was in danger and became so uncomfortable he had to leave. A couple days later, Kyle started to receive other text messages from someone named Tim at the church. At first, they were innocuous Bible messages, but then he started threatening him. He sent messages talking about their power and other things. He then sent a final text message which simply said angels. Kyle thought nothing of it until helicopters started flying around his house all day and night. At this point, he knew he was in trouble. He knew he needed to contact them, so he made an appointment to meet John for coffee. After making the appointment to see John, something very bizarre happened. Kyle started to receive spontaneous, I'm going to say it, erect